Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
New Fortress Energy recently hosted an entrepreneurship workshop at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, and Business Access TV was there to bring you the highlights. Stay tuned.
I've had the pleasure of chatting with Danny over the last few weeks and having lovely conversation last evening. And you will know that Danny is the executive director of the Jonathan M. Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship at Brown University. But what you probably don't know is that he's not just a professor at a university, he's first and foremost an entrepreneur. He started and sold many businesses, and he is globally recognized for his teaching of entrepreneurship. And he's very passionate about this. And, you know, people who are in this field tend to be very passionate, just like you as entrepreneurs. I know that Danny is going to get a lot more into his background, so I won't say very much more, except to welcome you, Danny, to Jamaica. It's his first time. Let's give him a warm Jamaican welcome.
Like many of you in this room, I am an entrepreneur. I'm somebody who's had some pretty deep, long-term, successful entrepreneurial experience. And that dates back to when I was even an undergraduate at Brown University. I was a history concentrator. Any other liberal arts concentrators in the room or majors in the room? That's interesting, not that many. So I studied history. I knew nothing about business. I knew nothing. I didn't even know the word entrepreneurship. And my senior year at Brown, I was asked to join a software company. We built that company up, and in the late 80s, we sold it to Apple. And I thought, wow, that's kind of a cool thing that we did. I knew nothing about business or technology, and I was able to contribute pretty significantly to that process. By the way, to my young students, I have to clarify that in the late 80s, there were such things called computers, because they can't envision that in the 80s there were computers. But once I clarified for them, they're interested to hear, oh, you were a student at Brown and you did that. So I'm a big proponent of liberal arts, history, languages, political science as the basis of a good foundation for just about anything, and in particular for starting things, new ventures for entrepreneurship. About 13 years ago, I got a fateful tap on the shoulder from a beloved professor at Brown, somebody who had actually helped us and supported us when we were students to start that company, to teach entrepreneurship at Brown. And I was confused for a couple reasons. One, first of all, I thought he was joking, because I told him I had never taught anything, nothing, not even Sunday school. He must have the wrong guy. And besides that, how is it even possible to teach entrepreneurship? And he's not the kind of person you can easily say no to, so before I knew it, I was in front of a Brown class teaching entrepreneurship. And so I always say that teaching entrepreneurship is what I call a participation sport, not a spectator sport, meaning that you can't really teach it unless you do it. And so I want to make sure it's clear that a lot of people are sometimes confused about what even we mean by entrepreneurship. And so I want to make sure I ground us in a common understanding. And I thought I might start by involving you. And this is not a quiz. I'm not looking for you to define entrepreneurship. I'll do that for us. But what I am looking for is when I say the word entrepreneurship, and there are no right answers, what words or thoughts come to mind? When I say entrepreneurship, what word comes to mind? Being different, okay, not being like everybody else. Passion. So you have to be really excited about being different. Taking risks. Risk is often on people's minds. Half crazy. Why half crazy? Maybe all the way crazy. Exactly. What else? What other words come to mind when I say the word entrepreneurship? Patience. That's interesting. So you might not get it right the first time. It sounds like you might have some experience with that. And maybe related, I heard sleepless nights. So when it feels like you should be getting it right the first time, you don't. You have to go back to the drawing board. Maybe that's at 3 in the morning or even a little later. What else? Maybe a few other comments. Innovation. So yes, that's often a word I hear from the Latin root. I took 4 years of Latin, and my Latin teacher would be proud for me to remember that it comes from the word nova, meaning new. So it means to create something new. Yeah, so is that what you were thinking of when you thought that? Yes. What else? What other words or thoughts come to mind? Yeah. Quitting your job? Could be, yes. Right. Not necessarily, but in your point of view, that's your sense of it, that you're losing your ties to a dependable income and you're going all in by being aggressive. Could be. And maybe that leads to some of those same sleepless nights, yes? Problem solving. You took a peek at my slides, I have a feeling. Excellent, yes. So all these words resonate with the whole concept of entrepreneurship.
Home is where all the sweetness, silliness, and beauty of life happens. Discover your style and express yourself with furniture from the Ashley Furniture Home Store. Visit any of our 2 locations at Ligony Kingston or Fairview Montego Bay. Find the most exquisite range of furniture in varying styles to suit your needs. So tell your story with elegant and affordable lounge, bedroom, dining pieces, and more from the Ashley Furniture Home Store. Here at Ashley, this is home.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show. And Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
So New Fortress Energy is a global energy infrastructure company. What we've done in Jamaica is we've actually helped partner with JPS to introduce natural gas into Jamaica. And so we have 2 big projects in Jamaica, one in Montego Bay and one at Old Harbor, that are bringing the infrastructure into Jamaica so that we can bring clean energy to provide to power for the power plants in Jamaica, as well as industrial customers like Red Stripe, UE, and others. So we're helping the transition for Jamaica to go from the heavy fuels, the polluting fuels, to clean energy like natural gas and renewable energy like solar and wind.
How important is it for you to host an event of this nature for the entrepreneurs of Jamaica and outside of Jamaica as well?
Yeah, we are super excited to participate and help facilitate this event because entrepreneurship is so important to the economic growth and sustainable growth of an economy. Our company was founded by Wes Edens, who's a big investor in Jamaica, a big believer in the economic potential of this country, and he's an entrepreneur. So he understands the principles and the practices that you need to put in place for small businesses to grow and flourish and become medium businesses and become large businesses and employ a lot of people. And so what we want to do here is not only invest heavily in energy infrastructure, which we're already doing, but invest in the overall economy. And so we're focused on education and we're focused on entrepreneurship.
Now, how many of you have ever heard the phrase entrepreneurial spirit? Yeah, a number of you have. I have too. And I have to tell you, I cringe when I hear it. And I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't really mean anything to me. And it's the kind of fluffy phrase that might sound intriguing, but imagine if I, as a professor, were charged with teaching somebody how to have the entrepreneurial spirit. I wouldn't know where to start. And it doesn't sound like the kind of thing that you could replicate or clarify or standardize or teach somebody. And from your point of view, I don't know how you would learn the entrepreneurial spirit. And so instead, what I've done through the years, since that fateful moment when I was an undergraduate, drawn into my first entrepreneurial experience, when I was asked a few years later to teach at Brown, and I started to rack my head to say, okay, I got to do this teaching. How am I going to teach people entrepreneurship? I thought again about the fact that Brown teaches entrepreneurship in engineering. And I thought, you know what? If you're teaching somebody engineering, you're not going to say, if let's say you wanted to teach them how to build a bridge, how would it sound if you said, you know what? Just go out there and have the bridge building spirit. How absurd would that sound? You laughed, of course. You know, just go out there and throw up a bridge, and if it holds the trucks and the cars, terrific. And if instead they come crashing down to earth, then go out there and be persistent. Just try it again. No, that would sound totally absurd. Brown would lose its accreditation. It wouldn't have an engineering school. And yet, many of you nodded your head when I said, how many of you have heard that phrase, entrepreneurial spirit? And I contended back then, and even more so given all the experience I've had teaching people entrepreneurship, that it's even more absurd to talk to people about entrepreneurship without having it grounded in a structured process. In bridge building, in the engineering school, we've distilled out of the whole enterprise of bridge building some standard elements that you can follow that have organized components to them. A structured methodology, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every bridge follows a certain standard type of guideline in terms of how it was built. At the same time, every bridge is different from every other. Functionally, operationally, aesthetically, and so there's room, even when you're following a structured process, for your bridge to reflect the own nuances of whatever bridge it's going to be. And similarly, in entrepreneurship, I'm going to share with you the 3 structured elements of the process that I teach that you can learn and master. And even still, just like in bridge building, there's a lot of variation in terms of the kind of ventures or startups that all of you are involved with or could be involved with. And so these are those 3 elements that I distilled into my own teaching and that I teach people all over the world. The first is find and validate an unmet need, which in short means, what's the problem? What problem are you looking to solve? And I always advise starting with defining that unmet need, especially in the context of people who are technology focused. Remember, I teach in engineering, so I'm surrounded by lots of them. And they tend to rush past defining the problem. They like to dive in with a technology that they think is a solution. The problem is, it's a solution in search of a problem. And that's a pretty costly, error-ridden way to start the process. So instead, we always start with find and validate an unmet need. The second is develop a value proposition, which is the second part of this process. And that is essentially, on a small scale, what's the solution to the problem you've discovered? It could be in a lab, it could be in a maker space, it could be in a social enterprise incubator, but what's the solution to the problem you've identified on a small scale? And then really important is this third element, and it's often where I think people fall short. And actually, I've heard a little bit of theme in my limited time already today in Jamaica that this is an area that people are concerned about, and that is even if you've identified an unmet need that is worthy of addressing, even if you've developed a small-scale solution to that problem, the third element is create a sustainability model that enables you to have big impact at scale. So you're not only having impact in your small neighborhood or university or parish or even across Jamaica, but in a way that has sustainable, big impact that you can replicate, that you can scale across perhaps the entire world. So it's those three elements that are really critical as we think through this entrepreneurial process. And what we're going to do for the remaining time we have today is dive pretty deeply into this first one, find and validate an unmet need. I feel really strongly about doing that because I find that if you shortchange that part of the process, then you build a really flimsy foundation for what comes next. And if you build a really firm foundation by establishing a very clear and actionable unmet need, then those two other elements of value proposition and sustainability model roll themselves.
Talk to us about some of the partners that made this event possible today.
So we came in and really enlisted, saw where the ecosystem for entrepreneurship is very vibrant, very active. Jamaicans, on a whole, are really entrepreneurs themselves, and recognize some incredible organizations that were doing amazing work, like First Angels, Development Bank of Jamaica, Jamaica Business Development Corporation, Branson Center, and it's a huge ecosystem that we have tapped into. And of course, on the educational level, you have UA as well as UTech and Northern Caribbean University. So we are plugged into that mechanism. I mean, what we want to do is to add to the conversation and try to impact it via investment where, access to capital for startups are a little bit of a challenge for them. So this is one area that we're really focused on to see how we can assist micro, small, and medium-sized business to gain access to capital.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
First Angels Jamaica is one of the partners for today's entrepreneurship workshop. How did First Angels get involved?
So, New Fortress Energy is our newest member of the Angel Network, and we've been talking about how we can collaborate to improve entrepreneurship in Jamaica and get people in the ecosystem closer together. So we thought that it would be a good idea to have this workshop. Danny Warshay is from Brown University, from the Jonathan M. Nelson Center for Entrepreneurship. And, New Fortress has a relationship with Brown. And so they suggested that we have Danny as our speaker, and we were thrilled to have him. So we have been working with our ecosystem partners, with the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, with the Branson Center of Entrepreneurship, and First Angels and other partners to target the people that they are working with, the young entrepreneurs that they're working with, and you can see them here today. We're very pleased that, you know, our partners have come through, and the young people who are working with the various business service institutions, especially through the DBJ's program and Branson Center and JBDC, have come today to hear Danny, because his talk has been very important for young people and not so young people who are starting businesses and learning how to be better entrepreneurs.
So how can you guys start to implement bottom-up research? Take some notes on these flip charts, because then we're going to hear from some of your tables as you report back to the whole group.
So we have little points here, because we're trying to strategize, and we're saying, all right, observation of the deaf community. How do we communicate to them? We do not know sign language, but I do have a friend who's deaf, but they can text. You can ask them to teach you things. You understand? Accessibility. They don't want to feel excluded in anything. In society, we tend to use our own biases because we're so imperfect about certain things. We're saying, okay, they're not going to understand that because they're deaf. They might be deaf, but they're still human, and they do have different aspirations like us. So we're saying, all right, what is most important to them? What can be done to improve their circumstances? Can we include the government in it? Can we do like voluntary services? We should shadow them, shadow one person, and do a one-to-one thing with them. Be more personal with them. Empathize with them. Gaining their trust. Because most of the time you're not going to be trustworthy. Putting yourself in their shoe. Continuous documentation. You're not going to write right in front of them, you know. You're going to write at home in your diary. Aspiration. What drives them? What get them up in the morning? Probably the possible solution that we could find is try to get entrepreneurs who are in different sectors, like I'm in the tourism industry, she's in gastronomy, he's in the food packaging industry, she does jewelry making, and she caters to the deaf community.
Our unmet need was weight loss management. I don't know if you've been looking in the newspapers, but lifestyle illnesses is a major topic in Jamaica, and we have Jamaica Moves. We have a lot of movements about losing weight, but what we don't have a lot of products for is maintenance, which is far more difficult than losing weight. And so we looked at, we did the bottom-up research, but we've been asked to look at the adaptations. So some of the, I should turn it around a little bit, cultural differences. Jamaicans like products from overseas. It'll be very hard to get them to buy into a local product, and so we'd have to look at adapting it for the Jamaican market. Our culture, of course, which, you know, we have a lot of music and a lot of cultural proverbs which revere fat women, and so we'd have to look at how we would approach that. We definitely have a quick fix mentality. We don't like maintenance, and so we actually also included the no maintenance mentality. We have a lot of projects that we start, but the follow-through is just not there. And we also thought maybe some persons might be reluctant to participate in a project like this.
The DBJ, as you know, has a major focus on entrepreneurship. And we have one of our big projects for this year is how are we going to take entrepreneurship and innovation to another level. So when New Fortress Energy came and was looking to expand the work that they're doing in entrepreneurship in Jamaica, One of the entities that they spoke with was with the University of the West Indies, and we have a close relationship with the university. So they gave us a call to say New Fortress was looking to become involved, and basically having invested in Jamaica's energy sector, they saw where they could actually, through their foundation, actually contribute to entrepreneurship development in Jamaica. And based on the work that we are already doing, the university thought that it would be a good fit for us to actually meet with New Fortress and partner with them on some of these initiatives.
How can entrepreneurs at each stage, whether startup, established, how can they benefit from the workshop and apply all the tools necessary?
It's a great question. And I even gave some examples of ventures that were well into their several decades of development. And what I teach is something that I know from my own experience can be used in all sorts of different kinds of aged contexts. So, for example, in many cases, I'm asked to teach this entrepreneurial process in very big, well-established companies. And it's because they recognize that some of their threat, some of their biggest challenge, some of their most significant competition is coming from the early stage companies who are using this process, and they need to learn it for their own safeguard and defensibility. So I've never seen a context in which we couldn't apply the entrepreneurial process that I teach for the benefit of whoever's asking me to teach there. That could be very early stage, it can be very late stage. It doesn't even have to be in a business context. I teach this entrepreneurial process all across the Brown ecosystem in virtually every discipline you could find. In some cases, that third element I described, the sustainability model, is a business model. In other cases, it isn't. When I'm working with neuroscience researchers, the outcome there is better neuroscience research. When I'm dealing with doctors at the Brown Medical School or Brown medical students, the outcome isn't necessarily a commercialized product. It could be better medical outcomes. When I'm dealing with the philosophy department at Brown, the outcome is how do we think through the ethics of entrepreneurship? So we think at Brown very expansively about the wide application of this process, not narrowly as just a method for creating a business.
That's it for our coverage of the New Fortress Energy Entrepreneurship Workshop with special guest Danny Warshay. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
This week abroad,
we're going to be encouraging the business sector to invest in renewable energy.
St. Lucia Development Bank now offering loans for climate change.
Jamal Khashoggi's name is trending worldwide and has been since he disappeared 2 weeks ago.
Economic instability in Saudi Arabia caused by a journalist's suspected murder. Recreational cannabis now legal in Canada. Hello and welcome to This Week Abroad. I'm Javon Keys. Let's go around the region. Reviews of bus contracts have started in the Bahamas as an attempt to reform the transportation system. Education Minister Jeffrey Lloyd says the government will ensure that commuters pay a fair price.
We are looking very closely at what is a fair price for these various bus routes. Some bus routes are way, way, way overpriced. This is across the islands, including Newport, way overpriced. Some of them are way underpriced. We are taking very careful pains to ensure that what is a fair price for these various bus rides, giving consideration to the realities in Eleuthera, for instance, the long-distance bus drivers have to travel in Grand Bahama and some other family islands, as well in New Providence, the very short distance, and the small number of students that these bus drivers are carrying.
Now over to Trinidad and Tobago, where a financial consultant says the closure of Petrotrin will have a great impact on government debt.
There's a tremendous amount of secrecy, for one, but there's no real consultation with regards to the process. Closing a 100-year refinery or 100-year industry overnight. And that's why I appreciate the title, actually, sudden closure. A sudden closure. You just close the industry with a tremendous amount of secrecy, not knowing, not having worked out the socio-economic impact on Trinidad and Tobago.
He says the impact of the closure will likely be more widespread than first thought. Meanwhile, the CEO and Managing Director of JMMB in Trinidad and Tobago, Nigel Romano, says Petrotrin failed to identify some key issues which resulted in its closure.
And I'm not sure that Petrotrin understood who its customers were and what value it was creating for those customers. When you have sustaining losses, you go out of business.
Mr. Romano says the company needed to be reformed.
Why does Petrotrin believe it can exist forever if it is not adding value? To compete, our companies and organizations need to have the right people, the right leadership, and the right culture.
Guyana is looking to establish more bilateral relationships worldwide. Minister of Foreign Affairs Charles Greenidge says the government is exploring ways in which partnerships can be forged.
Where we don't have them, the intention is to try and establish them, whether it is by way of ambassadors or honorary consuls, or where we already have those in place, to try and ensure that we put in place some joint commissions which will set and identify the things, the areas in which we can cooperate.
He cited some of the recent agreements signed.
In the case of Estonia, there was an agreement signed with Estonia. It was the president herself who attended that meeting, and we had a very warm and fruitful discussion with her. In the case of Indonesia, we do have, and we signed an agreement concerning visa-free travel in relation to diplomats and senior officials and the like.
And still in Guyana, the inaugural Green Guyana Expo and International Small Business Expo took place this weekend under the theme Sustainable Economic Growth Through Small Business Innovation, Entrepreneurship and Transformative Policy. Minister of Finance Winston Jordan said that the expo brought together a wide range of stakeholders.
Mr. Chairman, this expo and summit brings together business experts from Guyana and around the world to educate and inspire local businesses to adopt new technologies and good practices that are necessary to build business resilience and competitiveness. I expect that this summit will discuss extensively emerging trends and practices in the green business realm.
Funding for climate change resilience has been a hot-button topic, and now the business sector in St. Lucia has access to loans from the St. Lucia Development Bank to finance their climate change resilience efforts. The loans are being facilitated through the bank's Climate Adaptation Finance Facility.
I think the power outage by LUSLEC last week is a wonderful coincidence for this event, because what it has demonstrated is the loss of business opportunity, the loss of business continuity, because of the fact that people do not invest in systems that could provide power when there is no power from LUSLEC. And so at the session on Thursday, we're going to be encouraging the business sector to invest in renewable energy, invest in alternative energy. So we would have companies that specialize in providing services, for instance, the implementation or the installation of photovoltaic systems, and other equipment that relates to building resilience and adapting to climate change.
The St. Lucia Development Bank has secured some $4.5 million for the loan facility, and the loans will be offered on a first-come, first-served basis. When we come back, a journalist's alleged murder sends shockwaves through Saudi economy. More TWA on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
We are back with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to This Week Abroad. The suspected murder of Saudi Arabian journalist Jamal Khashoggi sent shockwaves across the world last week. The situation prompted business leaders and human rights activists to pull out of a massive investment summit in Saudi Arabia. Here's how Al Jazeera tracked the story.
Jamal Khashoggi's name is trending worldwide and has been since he disappeared 2 weeks ago. The conversation is strongest in the US and UK, but also, interestingly, in Saudi Arabia, with hundreds of thousands of tweets asking questions, defending journalism, and pointing fingers. Most of the blame is directed at Saudi Arabia and the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Lalo Alcaraz in the US drew this, with MBS asking, Khashoggi who? Donald Trump is also condemned for not doing more and for bowing to Saudi Arabia to ensure lucrative trade deals continue. And many cartoonists like SMJ Tahiri from Iran showing the love affair going both ways. It's not just blame for the U.S. Martin Shovel asking, where does Britain draw the line when it comes to funding human rights and Saudi Arabia? The online criticism, of course, is not limited to cartoons.
Here's how weak Trump's excuse is. Even Saudi Arabia is not buying it, because this afternoon, CNN reported that Saudi Arabia is planning to admit that Jamal Khashoggi's death was the result of an interrogation that went wrong. Let me ask an obvious question. Any interrogation that includes 15 men and a bone saw, how's that go right? This is one of the most disturbing violations of human rights in recent memory.
People are also calling for justice. Even Republicans who broadly support Donald Trump's policies want answers.
America must take tough action. And making money and selling more weapons, because we're going to have a bottom line with more money, is not an excuse for America not to stand tall and to make it clear to the world that we believe in human rights and are prepared to defend them.
And now the conversation is focused on U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's visit to Saudi Arabia. Many online are saying if there are not answers, then there need to be consequences.
Mike Pompeo held meetings throughout the day, speaking to the king, the crown prince, as well as the foreign minister. He came away with Saudi denials and the pledge that a credible investigation is already underway.
They made a commitment to hold anyone connected to any wrongdoing that may be found accountable for that, whether they are a senior officer or official. They promised accountability for each of those persons whom they determine as a result of their investigation deserves accountability.
Including a member of the royal family?
They made no exceptions to who they would hold accountable. They were very clear. They understand the importance of this issue. They're determined to get to the bottom of it, and that they will conduct the report, and we'll all get a chance to see it. They each promised that they would achieve that for us.
President Trump also spoke to the Crown Prince on the phone, who he says totally denied any knowledge of what took place.
In an extraordinary statement to Associated Press, President Trump says that allegations of Saudi complicity are, and I quote, another case of guilty until proven innocent. This in reference to his nomination as Supreme Court Judge Brett Kavanaugh, who was accused of sexual assault. But together with the statements by Mike Pompeo, it would also appear to be part of a concerted strategy by the Trump administration to insist that there is no complicity among Saudi leaders.
But this sharply at odds with views expressed by congressional leaders. Senator Rand Paul tweeted, "Saudi Arabia is not our friend. They fund radicalism around the world. We don't need to be arming them. They are the worst actor out there promoting terrorism." And strong criticism from another Republican senator of the Crown Prince, referring to him by his initials, MBS.
This guy's got to go. Saudi Arabia, if you're listening, there are a lot of good people you can choose, but MBS has tainted your country and tainted himself.
Congressional anger supported by a former director of the CIA.
I do hope that they're going to draw the line at this and hold not just the Saudis and Mohammed Salman to account, but also the Trump administration, and not let the Saudis get away with what appears to be the killing of a U.S. person, a permanent resident of the United States, and a journalist for the Washington Post. They cannot get away with this. And I think that this is basically the downfall of Mohammed Salman.
And in the New York Times, a picture of a man allegedly identified as a suspect by Turkish authorities. He's described in the report as a frequent companion of the Crown Prince. In a blow to Mohammed bin Salman's insistence of innocence, 3 other suspects are said to be part of his security detail. President Trump will receive a personal report on the case in coming hours. He's urged Turkish authorities to hand over any audio and video recordings they may have.
We've asked for it if it exists. I'm not sure yet that it exists. Probably does, possibly does.
The president has been reluctant to criticize Saudi Arabia or discuss any sanction that may be imposed, dismissing allegations of Saudi complicity as, and I quote, "another case of guilty until proven innocent."
They are an ally. We have other very good allies in the Middle East, but if you look at Saudi Arabia, they're an ally and they're a tremendous purchaser of not only military equipment, but other things.
President Trump is awaiting the report from his Secretary of State, who was sent to the region in the face of growing political uproar. Mike Pompeo spent time with senior Saudi figures during a visit to Riyadh and said they had denied any knowledge of the matter and had started a full investigation. He also met with the Turkish president in Ankara, shaking hands for the camera, but insisted it was too early to go into details about the journalist's disappearance.
I don't want to talk about any of the facts. They didn't want to either, in that they want to have the opportunity to complete this investigation in a thorough way.
And more pressure from Congress. The House Speaker, Paul Ryan, saying action must be taken.
We have laws for this. We recently passed the Magnitsky Act, which is a man who was killed in prison, in a Russian prison. So we have sanctioned laws on the books.
In terms of this bipartisan action, President Trump is given 120 days to decide on what sanctions to impose. A group of Democrat senators have demanded that the Trump family disclose any business ties it may have had with Saudi Arabia in the past decade. But this is legally unenforceable and likely to be brushed aside by the president. And a reminder of the man who's at the center of this ongoing crisis. The Washington Post has published an opinion piece written by Jamal Khashoggi shortly before his disappearance. In it, he criticizes the lack of international response to the abuse of journalists in countries like Saudi Arabia and Egypt. He writes, "These actions no longer carry the consequence of a backlash from the international community. Instead, these actions may trigger condemnation, quickly followed by silence. As a result," he continues, "Arab governments have been given free rein to continue silencing the media at an increasing rate." Chilling words from a man who may himself have been silenced.
The largest stock market in the Middle East suffered its biggest fall for 4 years, within hours of Donald Trump ramping up the pressure on the Saudis. The Tadawul in the Saudi capital Riyadh fell almost 7% as it opened on Sunday morning. That wiped out all its gains made this year before recovering to close 3.5% down.
We're going to get to the bottom of it, and there will be severe punishment.
Investors reacted to the warnings by Donald Trump, who's made it clear that the kingdom will be severely punished if it's behind the disappearance and apparent murder of Washington Post contributor Jamal Khashoggi. Saudi Arabia rejects both the accusations of involvement and threats of punishment and is promising to retaliate against any sanctions with bigger ones of its own.
There seems to be more questions than answers.
Those comments will do little to settle investors' nerves as business leaders and media sponsors take a step back from Saudi Arabia's so-called reform agenda. The president of the World Bank is among several influential leaders who've already said they won't attend a key investment conference in Riyadh next week. Dubbed Davos of the Desert, it's aimed at propelling the kingdom into its latest vision for the future. But Uber's absence may be noticed the most, since the Saudis have invested billions of dollars in the U.S. ride-hailing company.
A lot of big names and a lot of big media organizations have pulled out. So this is not good. And the whole basis of the Vision 2030, the very forward-looking economic policy to bring Saudi Arabia, wean it off oil, bring it into the 21st century, really depends on working with foreign partners and getting investment in there. I don't think they will pull out completely, but right now it's too toxic.
The U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is under pressure from U.S. senators not to go. But the Trump administration wants to maintain billions of dollars worth of weapons orders and the U.S. jobs that go with them. When the Saudi Crown Prince visited the White House, Trump presented the kingdom's shopping list as one of his crowning achievements.
Only last week, Christine Lagarde, the head of the International Monetary Fund, said she was still going to Saudi Arabia, even though she was horrified at the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. Now her office says her trip is being deferred. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, has also pulled out. It's had 85 years of business in Saudi Arabia. It began by helping U.S. oil firms start up there. Stephen Schwarzman, chief executive of Blackstone, isn't going either. He's said to have been one of the first Western financiers to actively court Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Bill Ford of the Ford Motor Company's pulled out too. He's blaming a scheduling conflict. Ford was hoping to boost sales after Saudi Arabian women were allowed to drive. Media companies including CNBC, Financial Times, CNN and the New York Times have also withdrawn. So have some banks including HSBC, BNP Paribas and Société Générale. Some countries have said they won't now be sending trade delegations. But it's important to remember this. Just because key individuals might not be going, that doesn't guarantee their organizations or their countries won't be represented. U.S. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin and the multinational conglomerate SoftBank chose to wait before making a decision. This conference was a chance for the Saudis to resuscitate business confidence, which has been slacking off in certain sectors for months. Some investors may now need a lot of persuading.
And don't go away, we go further abroad in a bit. But first, here's a look at how some of the major international commodities ended trading this week. And stick around, international stories are next.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, Fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands! Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to This Week Abroad. Thousands of Haitians took to the streets last week as tempers flared over accusations that the government could not account for billions of dollars from a Venezuelan-sponsored oil assistance program meant to provide social care and improved public services. Here's more.
Police
police in Port-au-Prince fired live ammunition at unarmed protesters Wednesday as thousands spilled onto the streets in the capital and across the country. The demonstrators accused the ruling party of corruption and ignoring the needs of its people.
We're living in a country where there's no health care. There's no good schools for our children, and the farmers are abandoned with no support from the government. And in the same country, you have a couple of people who stole over $3 billion.
Haitians are demanding an investigation into what happened to some $3.8 billion from a Venezuelan oil agreement. The money from the PetroCaribe Fund was supposed to be for social development and public works. Yet 11 years after the fund was started, 40,000 Haitians still live in displacement camps, and millions of people have no running water.
Water is life for us, and without it, we cannot live. We don't even have enough water for our toilets.
Protesters accuse politicians and administrators of embezzling the money. The protest campaign started on Twitter 2 months ago with the hashtags PetroCaribe Challenge and Where is the PetroCaribe money?
You've seen banners and sort of people coming together and sort of, again, from very different walks of life, from different political backgrounds, from different socioeconomic backgrounds.
Haiti's president, Jovenel Moïse, is himself implicated in the corruption scandal. As he commemorated the death of Haiti's founding father Wednesday, the sound of protesters could be heard throughout the event. Under mounting public pressure, Moïse says he supports an independent investigation.
We have a big protest all over the country, a big protest to request that the government of Jovenel Moïse gives us an explanation as to how the money from PetroCaribe was spent.
With businesses shuttered and schools closed around the country, Haitians say this protest is unlike those that have gripped the country in the past. They say this time, the people are more united. They say this time, the government will be held accountable. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera.
And as Venezuela grapples with a major economic crisis, the IMF is predicting that the country's inflation will reach 10 million% by next year. Juan Carlos Lamas has more.
It used to be a thriving community of ranchers and farmers where they raised cattle and grew the corn Venezuelans count on as a staple. Not anymore. Hyperinflation has made it hard to count on anything now.
The problems really kicked in a year ago when the prices I paid to purchase the products I sold in my store started tripling from one day to the next.
After 16 years in business, selling fruit and vegetables from her small farm, Lisette Mendoza had to close down her shop. Now the shelves are filled with spider webs.
This store was our everything. It helped us to pay for my children's private school, our food and medicine as well. It also allowed us to pay for our vacations. Everything came out of the store, but now that's over.
San Carlos is a commercial hub serving ranchers and farmers in this rural valley. Dozens of shops and restaurants have closed in the last year.
Mendoza and her family say they spent more than $10,000 fixing up the store. The building itself needed work, and they bought scales, refrigerators, freezers, and shelves. They are determined not to lose the investment and hope to reopen someday.
In the meantime, Mendoza has let her farm workers go, and she's working the land by herself as a subsistence farmer, taking what she harvests home to feed her family of 4. But that's not easy either. Many farmers and ranchers have packed up and moved away. Seed and supplies are expensive. Salesman Luis Carlos Otaiza says fertilizer is out of reach for most of the farmers in the area.
The few pesticides that I can find, I cannot sell because they're too expensive. What I have left in stock is for my own use.
Mendoza says she's learning to cope with that too.
On our farm, we grow many things like black beans, cassava, banana, sweet potato, lemon, mango. It's all cultivated organically since we don't have money to buy the agricultural chemicals. Luckily for us, our farm has kept us fed this whole time.
For Mendoza, her husband, and their 2 daughters, food from their farm means food on the table, which they hope will continue to provide the nourishment they need as they try to ride out Venezuela's economic crisis.
British Prime Minister Theresa May went to Brussels last week to continue selling the Chequers Brexit plan to leaders of the European Union. TRT World's Simon McGregor-Woods has more.
The hopes of doing a Brexit deal at this summit long gone. British Prime Minister Theresa May's positive tone on arrival won't have impressed many here in Brussels.
What we've seen is that we've solved most of the issues in withdrawal agreement. There is still the question of the Northern Irish backstop, but I believe everybody around the table wants to get a deal. By working intensively and closely, we can achieve that deal. I believe a deal is achievable, and now is the time to make it happen.
May spent less than half an hour addressing her fellow leaders on the status of exit talks before they went into dinner without her, a further sign of the UK's growing isolation within this bloc. She'd presented them with no new ideas to break the current deadlock, so there wasn't much to discuss. EU leaders are running out of patience with Britain, just as Britain is running out of time. They've called off a planned emergency summit in November, judging that insufficient progress has been made to expect a deal by then.
It looks that still we do have a lot of discussions and not final approvement of the stance what UK wants, and it's very difficult for European side to negotiate with the person who has no full support of the position.
They know she's politically weak at home. Theresa May has bowed to different factions in her government and parliament, rejecting the EU's plan for a backstop or insurance policy against a future hard border on the island of Ireland. They insist it's non-negotiable, and there's more and more talk about all of this ending in no deal. Disruptions at borders, tariffs on trade, British passport holders requiring visas and work permits on the continent. There is one new idea doing the rounds, the EU's potential willingness to extend the so-called transition period after Britain leaves the EU, allowing a full 3 years for trade talks to take place before that thorny issue of the backstop applies. It might soften some opposition to the backstop. Hardly imaginative thinking at this stage, but possibly all they've got. The Prime Minister and others stress that a deal is 90% done. But on the problem of Ireland, they're still miles apart. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
On Wednesday, Canada became the first G7 country and the second country worldwide after Uruguay to legalize recreational marijuana. And with this historical breakthrough, many legal cannabis shops are looking to open their doors.
Illegal no more. At midnight in the easternmost time zone, the first non-medicinal cannabis is sold without breaking Canadian law.
Feels great. Wouldn't you be super happy too if you were the first person in line?
Legalization is being celebrated countrywide and not just by smokers. Canadian cannabis companies have seen their share prices soar in recent months as the big day approached.
There's not one client that I have met yet that has not been touched by the introduction of cannabis in Canada. Life sciences, technology, the banking industry, retailers, but in addition to food and beverage companies, you're going to start seeing a lot of activity as they touch the cannabis market.
How Canadians buy their cannabis depends on where they live. There will be different distribution rules in each of the 10 provinces and 3 territories. Some will have government-run online and real stores, others private retail. Prices will also differ. Some critics say that puts too many restrictions on an activity most Canadians have long wanted to be legal.
We can't really stop it with prohibition. We better call it legalization. Unfortunately, the government has tried to maintain all of the details of prohibition and just call it legalization.
Legalizing cannabis fulfills a campaign promise made in 2015 by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who himself admitted several years ago that he was an occasional user in the past. The government is also offering pardons to people convicted of possession now that the drug is legal. Because cannabis has been outlawed for so long, its effects on mind and body are being studied in detail at this Toronto medical lab. They're using a simulator to see how drivers who've smoked a joint react to virtual traffic conditions. Police and road safety advisors are also part of the research.
The most important thing is for drivers to understand what's going on in their bodies and prevent things from happening. I think everybody's interested in keeping our roads safer, so we'll help drivers to maintain that safety.
Polls show most Canadians are not opposed to legal cannabis so long as it can be kept away from children, and the multi-billion-dollar profits from an industry once dominated by organized crime can be taxed and used to benefit society. Daniel Lack, Al Jazeera, Toronto.
And that's it for This Week Abroad. Thanks for going around the region and across the world with us. We're back next week with more regional and international business stories. But please, join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:30 p.m. right here or live on our Facebook page for BATV News. I am Javon Keys. Please have a great week.
I'm Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world, and you're watching Business Access.
When deciding on the type of home you'd like to purchase or invest in, it's important to know what's available and how your lifestyle and needs might evolve over the next 5 to 10 years. This week on Home Sweet Home, we explore all the pros and cons of residential living. Hi. Good to be here.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
I'm so excited to learn more about apartments. We have so much ground to cover. Right away, I see my favorite spot, the kitchen.
Yeah,
still accessible to short people like me. Let me ask you this, Carlington. Is an apartment a good purchase for a first-time homeowner?
Yes, it is. In your early stages of purchasing an apartment, for example, your first purchase of real estate, you'd want to know that you're making a good investment as regards to getting a good resale value after you have moved on to your, per se, your dream house. As the demand grows, you'll have more young professionals and the price would actually go up. So, for example, you purchase it at $10 million. You live in it for about 3 to 4 years.
Yes.
And at the end of 4 years, your apartment may appreciate by, say, for example, 20 to 30%. So that in itself is a good investment.
Fantastic. Yeah. Because that was my next question. Is it a good investment for someone who's looking to widen their real estate portfolio?
Oh, yes, it is. And especially, as you know, in real estate, they say location, location, location. So, for example, you have an apartment that's close to universities and close to the main business hub. That may be, you won't have any time in terms of having such an apartment. If you put it on the market, such an apartment won't take a lot of time to be snatched up by somebody who is very interested and who works in the business district.
So, now that we're in this apartment,
yes,
let's talk about the pros of owning an apartment and the cons, the downside. But let's start with the positive aspect first. Oh, yes. Hit me with those pros.
Normally, an apartment is built where you have a town center. It's built because developers, I think, with good business sense, wouldn't normally go for that type of environment in terms of selecting a spot to actually have a development. So you're close to the main town areas, you're close to the party life, to hit strips, to major restaurants, food joints and stuff like that. So where the nightlife is concerned, that is a pro, that's a positive. Where community is concerned, having an apartment, you're close to persons. For example, there should be an emergency.
Yes.
You can have the security of knowing that you could call on somebody that's close by. In terms of security, a lot of persons choose an apartment because of the security aspect of it. There is a whole issue of gated communities. So being in that confine, where you know that there's a stationary security personnel, and you have, like, for example, closed circuit cameras,
yes,
and you have like a remote automatic electronic gate, that is a good additive or a positive as regards to owning an apartment.
Fantastic.
And as I said before, the resale value is up where that is concerned.
And there is someone there regulating access to your property as well.
There's someone there regulating access. You would know who comes in, who goes out, so you have a checklist of that. So where security, where that is concerned, security is a
absolutely
positive.
key.
Absolutely.
And certainly on an apartment complex, you have a wide variety of complexes that have different amenities. So let's talk about that.
Yes, depending on the scale apartment. Normally you might find some apartments, what they try to, you have the green area. That's a place for recreation. You have some apartments come with tennis courts, some apartments come with their own gyms, and some apartments may come with a spa. So after having a hectic work week, you want to just relax and just enjoy the amenities that you have paid for in your maintenance and everything and the purchase of your apartment. That's a positive where the amenities are concerned. Where your utilities are concerned, for example, if you had a house before, that for somebody who's downsizing, they had a pool, your utilities more likely would be up. If you choose an apartment where you have shared facilities which are maintained, you are looking that your utility would actually scale down. So in that's a plus in terms of choosing an apartment over a house or in the process of scaling down.
So Carlington, it's time for us to flip the coin. We just spoke about the pros of owning an apartment. Let's talk about the cons.
Now, Shelley, as regards to the cons of owning an apartment, you know that now it's trendy to have a pet. For example, a poodle, or some person might go with a cat. You might find that a lot of apartments, as regards to the strata rules, don't accommodate persons having a pet. Something can be worked out, and this has to be voted on by the board members of the strata for the particular apartment. And if a consensus is reached, then a person may bring in their pets. As regards to your apartment, as you know by the strata rules, you're not able to do any modifications to the exterior of the apartment. And if there are any changes to take place, for example, a change of a window, it has to match back with the original scope of the design of the apartment. And this is being done to maintain the value of the property as regards to reselling the property at a future date.
We were talking about how great it is to have neighbors, but certainly that provides challenges as well in terms of noise pollution. Everyone is so close together. Let's talk about that.
Where noise pollution is concerned, you know, a community is a bringing together of a number of other persons of different tastes and of different values.
Yes.
So then where noise is concerned, if you're a party person, then you may have a little challenge. You might find persons who have a hectic work schedule and they come in the evenings and they just want some peace and quiet. So you might find that as a drawback for some persons. Another con likewise is parking. Some apartment complexes may go up to 2 parking lots. So for a person who may have 2, 3, 4 persons coming to them, they might find a problem getting a parking space.
There are some apartments too that do not actually designate a parking space to you. You just have to kind of fit in where you find a vacancy.
Where you find a vacancy. That can be a challenge in the sense that the persons who actually owns property, to find that they come into their own property and are not being able to find a proper parking spot, that may be, they may complain to the strata committee where that is concerned. But you should know, Shelley, that most apartments, especially the contemporary apartments that we're seeing now, they afford designated parking spaces. So to avoid the complaints and stuff like that, that rule may be implemented for ease of access and for unity as regards to the community.
In addition, some overlooked disadvantages of apartments may include lack of privacy, problematic neighbors, lack of personal outdoor space, and no chance for extensions.
We're currently at Hillview Apartments. It's an 1,100 square footage apartment, and it's going for $18 million. And if you look at the fixtures, the finishes, and everything, from my perspective, and I believe from yours, it's worth it.
I love this apartment. It's very nice, very modern, very contemporary.
Yes, and as I said, from what I've been saying, that it speaks to your taste.
Don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll be exploring the pros and cons of a townhouse. Stay with us.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Welcome back to Home Sweet Home. As you know, we're discussing the pros and cons of different types of residential units. At this time, we're located in the cool hills of Belvedere, talking townhomes, and we're joined by Coretta Horton, Realtor Associate of Complete Realty Solutions. Hi, Coretta.
Hi, Shelly. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. First and foremost, since we're talking townhomes, define a townhome for us.
Okay, so a townhome is a single-family dwelling house that usually spans over 2 floors and is divided from the adjoining unit by a wall. So the townhouses, they are governed by the Registration of Titles Act. However, in some developments, the proprietors are asked to sign a homeowners agreement by the Homeowners Association, and it's this agreement that provides the guidelines under which the community operates.
I see. And can you give us a difference? Can you compare the two associations for us? Or are they basically the same thing with different names?
They're one and the same because they're still enforcing the operations of the various developments.
All right, tell us the pros and the cons. Let's go with the pros first of buying a townhome as a first real estate purchase.
So, as a first real estate purchase, you probably consider your family size if you're opting to choose a townhouse. So it affords you your own backyard and front yard. Instead of parking in a communal parking, you're able to park at your door. Some townhouses, they even afford you the option of extending your property within, certain parameters. Even with the newer developments, you find that with that one maintenance fee, you're able to enjoy fully equipped gym, swimming pool. If you have a family, you have a recreational area. So your children, they pretty much get a ready-made space and friends are there, you know?
Yes.
These luxury items have been added to the townhouses. The maintenance also covers security, and in addition to the structured organization offers security, you have your neighbors, so you have those extra pair of eyes that are watching out for you and your property.
Absolutely, and in the case where you have to travel, you have to leave your plants, you have to leave your pets, your neighbors might be able to chip in for you as well.
Yes, definitely.
Furthermore, townhouses may offer a little more privacy than apartments. And say your townhouse community doesn't have a certain amenity, owners can always pool their money to get desired facilities once there is space. Let's hear the possible disadvantages.
While you enjoy the luxury of living in a townhome, you also have to pay for it. So there is that maintenance cost that is going to keep your common areas looking clean and pristine, and you're going to have to pay for security, that added security and a peace of mind that comes with owning a townhome.
Restrictive covenants. Tell us how that affects the homeowner, what they can do, and the freedom that they have to alter their space on the external of the home and also on the interior as well.
Owners of townhouses are able to express their creative genius. This can only be done on the inside of their homes. The homeowner association have those guidelines, so you'll not be able to go and paint your house your favorite color. So there are guidelines within which that uniformity of the property, it holds the value of your house.
Absolutely. And what about limitations to personal space?
Well, that has to be factored in, but when comparing it to your, the benefits that you get, but your personality type has to be taken into consideration. So there are limitations. So if you're a person that entertains a lot, you understand, you have to be mindful of your neighbors.
Absolutely.
Keep the noise level down a bit, but I think the security and the pros trumps all the disadvantages.
All right, for persons in the real estate market looking for an apartment or a townhome, could you give us a little bit of guidance as to who would be perfectly suited to a townhome environment?
Townhomes are suited mainly on your preference. So we have young professionals that are just starting out, but they intend to expand their family in the future. So instead of getting an apartment, they opt to a townhouse, which affords a little more space usually. Townhouses are suited for families because they have their own yard, they have the space to interact and to enjoy more amenities because it's usually a bigger development.
I'm really enjoying our conversation here in cool Belvedere. It's really nice here at the Royal Suite. Tell us some of the amenities that can be found here.
So the Royal Suite, it boasts a playground, a pool, triple security, and an 8,000-gallon water tank. It even gets better inside. So now that we have seen outside, I know we're enjoying the lovely breeze. Let me just take you inside for you to see the magic that it is.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Do you imagine our homeowner will be cooking up a storm in this lovely kitchen? So it boasts a lot of storage space. Our cupboards are made out of hardwood.
Yes.
As you can see.
Very nice, lots of storage.
Storage space. So for our backsplash, we have the lovely subway tiles that are on trend right now. And we have accentuated that with the granite countertop.
Tell us some more features of this wonderful home.
Okay, so Shelley, it's actually a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom townhouse. All ensuite bathrooms. We have a helper's quarters, also fully outfitted. Then we have a powder room downstairs with a very large living and dining space.
And it's a contemporary space, very clean.
It is very clean.
Very impressive. Let's talk money. What price tag are we looking at here?
Well, Shelley, all of this can be yours for just $360,000 US.
I'll sign it up right away.
Yes, they're beautiful. I love the height of the ceiling. High ceiling, yes. It makes the room cooler. Absolutely. So Shelley, thank you for stopping by. As you can see, although our townhouse is not a standalone unit, it still offers quite a bit of privacy. You see that you're not chucked up to your neighbor, and you have all of this space, all of this luxury to just enjoy. Thank you for being here with me.
Curta, I must say a very big thank you for having us and telling us all the amenities here at Royal Suites and townhouses in general. I mean, we learned so much and it was very interesting information for persons in the real estate market. Thanks so much for being with us and giving us all this great info. And of course, stay with us. When we return, we're going to be looking at standalone units. You don't want to miss it.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357 or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Are back with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On Point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to Home Sweet Home, where we're exploring the pros and cons of residential living. We've taken you to the apartments, we've explored the townhome, and now we're going to find out more about single-family units.
Hi, Shelley.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm super excited about finding out all I can about single-family units. I can't wait to go inside and see what you have in store.
Well, Shelley, one of the pros of having a single-family unit is to enjoy the yard space that is provided. So why not have a seat out there?
Sounds good. Let's do it. Sydney, I'm excited to get into the details. First of all, please define single-family home for me.
A single-family home is a standalone unit which provides privacy, land space, and the option to modify the property based on the restrictive covenants on the title.
We just saw some apartments and a townhouse. Could you compare the single-family unit to the apartments and the townhouse for us?
Okay, the difference between a single-family unit, an apartment, and a townhouse, Shelley, is that this apartment and the townhouse, it's governed under the Strata Titles Acts. So basically, maintenance, security, upkeep, once you pay a monthly fee, those services are allotted to you. With the house itself, you basically govern that property. So in terms of maintaining that property, maintenance and upkeep of that property is up to you, the owner.
Bear in mind that single-family units have no homeowners associations to deal with, tends to hold values longer if you're smart and buy in a good neighborhood, can have as many pets as you want, extend if there's space, and there's usually no special assessment surprises. All right, Sydney, would you like to share some pros of owning the single-family unit with us?
Can't stress privacy enough. Privacy. The unit is standalone, so you have space, you can walk around. We're sitting in the lawn. We can't do that within the apartment or the townhouse. You can play your music as loud as you want without disturbing your neighbors. You can plant trees, as you can see here. We don't have this in an apartment.
Absolutely.
Right?
You can have your own landscaping.
You can have your own landscaping. You can personalize your own landscaping. So with the house, you have a lot more option of personalizing it. With the apartment and the townhouse, there's not much modification. There's no modification actually that can be done to that unit. With the standalone unit, you have the option of doing your own modification to that property as long as it is within the restrictive covenants of the title. This property that we're at in Meadowbrook, it's a 2-family unit. So it's good for investment where the homeowner can live in one part of the home, one part of the property, and the other part can be used as an investment.
Okay, so that way you can get additional income for rentals.
Which you can get additional income to help with your mortgage or
other expenses.
Other expenses.
And the townhouse and the apartments don't usually afford you this?
No, the apartment and the townhouse, it only can be used for one use at a time. So it's either you're going to use it for investment or you're going to live there as the owner.
Sydney, with all the benefits that you just mentioned of owning your single family unit, it's so hard to imagine that there might be any disadvantages, but I'm sure there might be one or two. Would you care to share some?
Security can be costly at times because the owner will then have to do their own security or put in their own security measures. But you know, you have a standalone and you have your yard space, you can get 2 dogs, which in a way that would be a lot cheaper. With a home, maintenance and upkeep can be time consuming. The owner would have to maintain and upkeep that property, right? Repairs to the building. If the roof is leaking, you'll have to fix it. Electrical, you'll have to fix it. When you're modifying that property, you have to bear in mind that even though you may modify the property, you can't over-improve on that property because based on location, which is very important, you have to be mindful that when you modify that property, within a resale of that property, you can only get market value for it.
It's a great responsibility being a homeowner, yes?
Yes, it is.
On the downside as well, single-family dwellings are usually more expensive to buy, and it can be a longer commute from your workplace since standalone units are often in the suburbs than town centers. Is a single-family unit a good recommendation for a first-time homeowner?
Yes, Shelley. It depends on you, the person that is looking to purchase. There's a lot of factors that you have to take into consideration. For example, Shelley, we are at this lovely property in Meadowbrook. And as I mentioned before, it's perfect for investment. You basically can get a monthly income of $200,000 per month.
Fantastic. Tell me, Sydney, what does a property like this go for on the market?
Just a mere $29.5 million.
Million. Sydney, with all that great and insightful information, I'm curious to see what's on the inside. Let's go check it out.
Let's go.
This is a lovely home, well designed. I see lots of great design elements here and fabulous use of space. And I do love the depth of these stainless steel sinks, a very popular feature in more modern homes. Thank you so much, Sydney, for showing us around this beautiful single-family unit. I learned so much from you today. It was a pleasure having you.
It was a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you, too. It's no secret that buying a home is probably the biggest investment you're ever going to make. So it's important to know what you'd be signing up for: apartment, townhouse, or single-family dwelling. In the end, the advantages must outweigh the disadvantages and be right for you and your lifestyle.
Violence against women is a violation of human rights. Its impact ranges from immediate to long-term physical, mental, and sexual consequences, sometimes resulting in death. It negatively impacts women's general well-being and can prevent us from fully participating in society. Be a better human being. No more violence against women. No more.
Cashing in on weed. Canada legalizes recreational marijuana use, hoping to rake in billions. Weekend Business Report starts right now. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Keneal Gale. Thanks so much for joining us this week. On Wednesday, Canada became the first G7 country to legalize recreational marijuana use. It was a promise made by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau during the election campaign. We'll have more on that in a bit, but right now here are some of the top news stories from the BATV News Desk. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett has ordered a security audit of all hotels and local attractions. Sashana Small tells us more.
In September, it was reported that 2 women were allegedly raped at gunpoint at the Ria Hotel by the hotel's entertainment coordinator, Demar Scott. Further investigations revealed that Mr. Scott was being sought by the Manchester Police for several rapes in that parish. This brought the Rio's hiring protocol into the spotlight, with the Tourism Ministry promising to implement measures to ensure that a similar incident does not happen again. The ministry says its first step will be to conduct a security audit across the sector. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett says the audit is critical.
The critical need at this time for such an audit is a result of the strategic review that we're taking of the regulatory and other compliance processes to ensure that the industry remains safe, secure, and seamless.
Minister Bartlett says as part of their licensing agreement, hotels and attractions need to be secure. He says that the audit will review compliance levels, and if breaches are found, very strong measures will be taken against the offending properties.
A very critical part of the licensing arrangements for hotels and attraction is a strong security component and an adherence to certain security protocols. The audit then will review those protocols too and will give a sense of compliance levels, and strong measures will follow to ensure that the industry remains in the clear insofar as any breaches of these requirements and regulations are concerned.
Jamaica's latest all-inclusive hotel opened on Thursday in Oyster Bay, Trelawney. The hotel, valued at some $110 million, has 325 rooms, and its latest property from the Spanish-owned hotel operators, the Excellence Group. Javon Keys has more.
The Excellence Group opened its newest all-inclusive hotel in Oyster Bay, Trelawney this morning. Speaking at the opening, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he is pleased with the investment and he is certain that the investors have gotten value for money.
It is clear that for the $110 million spent on the property, you have gotten value and more. And I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing here with this 325-room property.
Prime Minister Holness says this is the latest iteration of the successful relationship between Jamaica and Spain, which has strengthened in the last decade with investments in excess of $1 billion in the tourism sector. He says Spanish investments account for about 25% of the available rooms in Jamaica.
Bilateral cooperation between Jamaica and Spain has strengthened significantly over the past decade, with Spain increasingly become a leading source of foreign direct investment in Jamaica. Spanish investment of $1.7 billion in Jamaica's tourism industry is evident in the hotel and wellness center construction projects undertaken by Spanish companies across the island. In terms of the tourism sector, about 25% of the rooms built in Jamaica are the product of Spanish investment.
He added that further discussions to strengthen the relationship between Spain and Jamaica began in May of this year with the signing of an MOU.
In May of this year, Jamaica and Spain engaged in productive discourse in Spain's capital, Madrid, to facilitate the strengthening of bilateral and multilateral relations to include areas of trade and investment, tourism, energy, agriculture, logistics, and education. In that meeting, we signed a memorandum of understanding on policy consultations to establish a system for regular meetings to strengthen cooperation between Spain and Jamaica.
The Senate has passed the long-awaited Fisheries Bill, which has been in consultation for some 2 decades. Jamila Maitland tells us more.
The bill, which took some 25 years of inspections, consultations and revisions, will repeal the 1975 Fisheries Act. Leader of Government Business Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, who piloted the bill, said the new legislation will not only protect the environment and the blue economy, but fisher folks as well.
How do we create greater sustainability in the industry? How do we ensure that our fishers are better educated, better prepared, that the ministry is better able to manage, and that the institutions being created are also able to not only obtain the relevant data, but to maintain and monitor the information necessary to grow and sustain the industries.
She explained that the bill seeks to standardize the industry to align with global standards and international regulations while addressing the growing aquaculture industry.
But aquaculture accounts for nearly 50% of the world's food fish. So much for us to do in that regard. The existing Fishing Industry Act doesn't specifically relate the aquaculture sector at all. So this bill is filling that gap in regards to aquaculture. The bill requires the authority to prepare and keep under review fishery management plans and aquaculture management plans for specific areas, zones, and buffer zones in order to promote the sustainable management of resources in these areas.
Senator Johnson-Smith said Jamaica loses some $10 million annually through illegal fishing. That is why the new laws will facilitate the appointment of observers in addition to the fishing inspectors in order to improve reporting on poaching.
Moving on now, Canada is now the largest country with a legal national marijuana marketplace after it legalized the possession and use of recreational cannabis. But will cannabis prove to be a lucrative cash crop, or will it come down to pot luck? Take a look.
For more than a decade, this greenhouse was used for growing orchids. But last year, the company Up Cannabis took over. Now the facility just north of the Niagara Falls ships marijuana across Canada. In 2016, the Ontario-based firm became one of the country's first licensed medical marijuana producers. With recreational weed now legal in the country for people aged 18 and over, Up Cannabis's ambitions are getting higher.
So the main focus of the company right now is certainly on creating a very strong footprint here in Canada, which is the biggest legal market in the world.
The country's Cannabis Act fulfills a promise Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made in the 2015 campaign. It lifts 95 years of prohibition and makes Canada the second nation after Uruguay to legalize the drug.
By controlling and regulating the sale of cannabis, we can better protect our young people. The allies I spoke with are interested in seeing how things go, but I have a feeling they will wait to see how it goes in Canada before they try it themselves.
Weed may now be legal nationwide, but provinces are setting their own rules. In Ontario, people need to order online, while retail stores are now open in Newfoundland and Labrador. Customers there queued overnight to get into Tweed, which started selling at midnight.
I came out to be the first person in Canada to buy a legal gram of recreational cannabis.
The government says regulation will benefit the economy. It expects to make over $840 million a year by taxing tokers. According to Deloitte, marijuana sales could rise as high as $8.7 billion in the first year. That's equal to what Canadians spend on wine. Including growing and distribution, paraphernalia, and tourism, the research firm says the industry could be worth more than $22 billion a year. But the World Health Organization says these estimated economic benefits can act as a smokescreen to the real harm that marijuana use can cause.
I think any addictive, whether it's drug or substance, is not good for human health.
UN data suggests Canadians are already among the world's top marijuana users. According to the country's statistics office, 1 in 8 Canadians are estimated to have used the drug in some form last year, meaning many are feeling pretty dope. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
And here is how many Canadians across the country reacted.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. We did it. You did it, and your party is coming up. Here's your receipt. The first legal receipt issued in Canada.
I feel great. The stigma ends tonight. Prohibition has ended right now. We just made history.
Cannabis, 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 cannabis.
Now that weed is legal, I don't have to feel the
legalization.
I don't know the word, but it's not a negative thing anymore, which it shouldn't be.
Voilà, c'est ça.
Well, my main goal was to be the first one buying recreational cannabis in Montreal.
And why?
It's a big moment for a stoner like me. Like it's like Christmas and New Year's and all in one day.
I don't believe Canada's ready to deal with this. I believe it's going to cost us taxpayers billions of dollars. I believe it is going to not help law enforcement. The laws in each province are not clear enough.
I just want to see what they have. I'm actually a medical user, so this will be a brand new experience for me. So I'm hoping to get maybe, 15 grams of some Snoop Dogg approved Kush or something.
How did you choose your selection?
I went for one of everything. Literally, I got one of everything, so I'm pretty excited about it.
I think it's like a big deal. It's like a historical moment, right? It's like a crack in the puritanical ideals of the past.
There's a certain aroma in the air I've been noticing more of. I myself am one of those people that also have a few concerns, but not too wholeheartedly, and I think everything will be all right.
Been a long time coming, so I'm just here to do what I've done for such a long time and not have to worry about being prosecuted for it.
A year and a half ago, I, on behalf of our government, was pleased to introduce the Cannabis Act into the House of Commons, and today pleased to sit here and mark this historic day, and there is no question that the world is watching Canada.
We will be proposing another new law to make things fairer for Canadians who have been previously convicted of simple possession of cannabis. So today, I am announcing that the Government of Canada intends to present legislation which, when enacted, will allow these individuals to apply for a pardon as long as they have completed their sentence. There will be no further waiting period and no fee.
I've said many times that I'm not a drug user. I don't drink much alcohol. I don't drink coffee. I have no intention of using marijuana.
Well, I think when people start to see these consequences, they're going to blame Trudeau's failures for it. When we hear concerns about health experts and the access by young people who are still undergoing brain development, having now access to this to marijuana, we're going to start to see the pushback, the anger from Canadians who are concerned that the government has adopted this approach.
if an individual is coming to the United States, like I say, a Canadian is coming to the United States, and it has nothing to do with the marijuana industry or the proliferation of the industry, that person would generally be deemed admissible to the United States. If they're coming to the United States, a Canadian citizen with the express interest to facilitate or develop the marijuana industry, they would generally be deemed inadmissible. And we generally are not asking routine questions about people's marijuana use.
It was an amazing experience. The store is so beautiful inside, like absolutely stunning. I'm blown away. Now that I can purchase it legally, my money will go to the government instead of going somewhere else or for another nefarious purpose, right?
Company news comes up next, then later. Finding new ways to feed a growing population. Could vertical farming be the answer? More WBR after this break.
We are back with another exciting, innovative, and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. Here's this week's company news.
Access Financial Services says it has reached an agreement to acquire a Florida-based consumer finance company. However, the acquisition will not be finalized until all conditions of the purchase agreement and all applicable legal and regulatory approvals are given. The process is expected to be completed in 90 days. Access Financial says this acquisition is part of its thrust to expand operations, diversify its revenue stream, and create opportunities for all stakeholders while increasing shareholder value. The National Water Commission (NWC) is seeking a 23% increase in water rates and a 38% hike in sewage rates. They've submitted their tariff review application to the Office of Utilities Regulation (OUR). A statement from the OUR says the NWC has requested the increase for the 3-year period from 2019 to 2021. If approved, it would net the company an additional $34 billion. The Water and Sewer Company is also proposing several changes to their rate structure. The Jamaica Public Service (JPS) is reporting more cases of electricity theft in upscale communities. The company says it's discovered theft at residences in Seacrest, St. Anne, Nampril in Westmoreland, and Coral Gardens, and Westgate Hills in St. James, while in the Corbett area illegal connections have been found in Barbican, Havendale, and Jacks Hill. The company says the perpetrators have been slapped with millions of dollars collectively in back billing, and JPS says that more sophisticated methods are being used to steal electricity, which it says is usually accompanied by great waste.
Let's now take a look at the closing numbers from major stock markets around the world. When we come back, more of the week's top news stories, so stay with us.
Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The elite leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. More news now. Roadwork along the Portia Simpson Miller Square is causing headaches for CAC 2000 Limited. Sashana Small explains.
Roadworks along the Portia Simpson Miller Square have been nothing short of a headache for businesses that operate here. They complain that they're losing revenue because customers cannot gain access to them. But imagine this, coming to work and not getting access to your own building. Take the CAC 2000 building, for example, which was blocked by Roadworks recently.
We've been dealing with the slow and gradual encroachment of access to our premises, but things came to a head yesterday when we came and discovered that we were not able to gain access to the premises by any means whatsoever. So, as you can see, the car park now is totally empty. There is a blue zinc wall blocking 2/3 of our entrance, so we are at a standstill insofar as access to our premises is concerned.
Mr. Roberts says the blocking of the building's entrance is evidence of the poor planning and lack of communication from the National Works Agency and CHEC.
We understand that this is a very important national work or national job in the national interest, but that doesn't mean that it must come at the expense of our access to our business. And certainly, things like communication and planning could be done better. Had we gotten the alternate gateway cut and an alternate entrance made to our premises, we wouldn't have been protesting this much.
He says employees have to park their vehicles elsewhere and walk to the office, and this has affected productivity.
People will work with dislocations if they're informed and a plan is laid out and a schedule of what will happen is laid out. If nothing happens and it just occurs happenstance or in an ad hoc basis, people become very demotivated. And our team doesn't know whether or not they're going to be given access to CAC today or tomorrow, or if they're going to gain access to Dr. Glass today or tomorrow, etc.
Jamaica has met all and exceeded some of the targets under the latest IMF precautionary standby arrangement review. Javon Keys covered this week's Epoch Quarterly Press Briefing.
Co-chair of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, Keith Duncan, said Jamaica has met all the fourth review targets under the IMF precautionary standby arrangement.
We are pleased to say, except for the inflation target, which came in below the program range at 2.8%, the program range being 3.5 to 6.5%, all quantitative and indicative performance criteria were met up to June 2018.
He noted that tax revenues and non-board reserves and other indicators exceeded their initial targets.
The primary surplus target was set at 18 billion. The outturn was actually 31.3 billion. Tax revenues were set to perform at 110 billion. They came in at 128.7 billion, significantly outperforming the program targets. Non-board reserves were at 2.484 billion, significantly ahead of the 2.075 billion target as at June 2018.
Mr. Duncan also pointed out that based on the statistics produced as at the end of August, primary surplus was $42.1 billion. He said this meant that Jamaica is on track to meet and possibly exceed the $44 billion indicative target set for September. Meanwhile, inflation at the end of August moved up from the 2.8% recorded at the end of June, now falling within the 3.5 to 6.5% range stipulated under the program.
Inflation at the end of August came in at 3.9%, within the program range of 3.5% to 6.5%. So inflation has moved back into the program range.
In the meantime, with the IMF program set to end in December 2019, the EPOC co-chair said Jamaica is on track to meet the end targets of GDP at 1.9% growth, debt to GDP of 93.7%, a primary surplus maintained at 7%, and net international reserves of US $3.83 billion. The next review will be done by the IMF's executive board on November 5th, and Mr. Duncan said EPOC is expecting favorable results.
Meanwhile, the latest figures from the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin showed that inflation for September was 1.1%. More in this report. Statin says the upward movement in September's consumer price index was influenced by a 4.6% increase in the housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels division. This jump was due to increased electricity, water, and sewage rates. As a result, the electricity, gas, and other fuels group moved up by 7.6%, while the group water supply and miscellaneous services related to dwelling advanced by 3.1%. Meanwhile, the food and non-alcoholic beverages division increased by 0.9%. This was primarily due to higher prices for agricultural produce. The group vegetables and starchy foods increased by 2.1%, while the transport division increased by 0.3% as a result of an increase in the price of fuel. In the meantime, calendar year-to-date inflation stood at 2.8%, while fiscal year-to-date inflation was 3%, and the point-to-point movement was 4.3%. A breakdown of the three regions for the month of September all showed increases. Inflation in the Greater Kingston metropolitan area went up 1.2%, other urban center increased by 1.1%, and rural areas jumped by 1%. When we come back, no sun, no field, scarce water? No problem. We'll show you farming of the future, wherever we are after this break.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, Fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and people say, what are you going to be? The parents will say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands!
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back to Weekend Business Report. World hunger is on the rise, and the UN Agency for Food and Agriculture says the way the world produces food will need to change if we hope to continue feeding the growing global population. Here's more.
There's no tractor or trailer or reliance on the sun or the rain. Instead, special lighting is helping this crop of basil and dill to grow. This is the UK's first fully automated vertical farm, where the vents built into the trays pump the right amount of air to regulate the temperature and humidity.
We've taken a field, we've cut it into tray-sized pieces about 6.5 square metres, and as you can see behind me, we've stacked them up on top of each other. Then we've put them in a box, and we've made the weather inside the box. So we've made our own sunshine, we've made our own rain, we've made our own wind, we can heat, we can cool, we can deal with humidity.
Under this system being developed in Scotland, crops can grow quickly using 97% less water than normally would be used. This method of farming isn't being seen as a replacement for more traditional methods of agriculture, but it could be useful in areas where it's difficult to grow crops and where the climate is extreme. And changing the way we produce food will be vital in the future. The UN is warning that by 2050, the global population will be more than 9 billion and will need to produce 70% more food to feed everyone.
This technology allows us to grow food in areas of the world where it's very difficult because of the climate, or in areas of the world where there's actually very little land available. So it changes the whole food system supply chain, for example, but also seriously reduces the amount of energy and inputs that we have to put into making food.
Here, they're aiming to be energy neutral. As the demands of our population increase, so too will our need for innovation. Emma Hayward, Al Jazeera, in Invergary in Scotland.
And that's our show for this week. On behalf of the entire Weekend Business Report team, I'm Keneal. See you next time.
This week on Wealth Magazine, we celebrate another Jamaican company, second generation operated that has gone regionally. The JMMB Group has made its mark as a top contender in the financial sector, with Keith Duncan as its Group Chief Executive Officer. In this episode, Duncan tells us about his attempts at entrepreneurship and the impact Hurricane Gilbert had on his once thriving business, his political loyalties, and the continued growth of the JMMB Group.
Keith Duncan, Group CEO, JMMB Group Limited. I was born in Montreal, Canada. My parents were at McGill University. My mother was at McGill University in pre-med, decided to misbehave, and she had twins. My sister and I, Donna Kay and I. Keith and Donna weren't expected to survive, and we ended up in this big metal incubator, right? We had hair all over our bodies, and our mouths weren't open yet, and our tongues were still stuck to the roof of our mouths. We weren't expected to live. And luckily we were born in Montreal, Canada, so this is God's work. And then we came back home. My mother brought us home, and we stayed with our grandmother for a year or two, and then we went back to Canada. And when my father, Dr. D.K. Duncan, graduated from McGill as a dentist, we came home. My mother didn't finish her degree, and she came home and she worked with him in his dental practice. He got placed in Brownstown, St. Anne, and that is where the beginning of his political career started, my father. I ended up at a school called Servite Convent. My mother thought that was too much of a prestigious school, so she sent me to Discovery Bay Primary. So I ended up at Discovery Bay Primary. Everybody around me is barefoot. I'm the only person, me and Donna are the only people that have shoes. You understand? Pit toilet and everything, and I really got an induction. So I was away from Servite Convent with all the expatriates that worked at Kaiser in the bauxite company, and I'm at Discovery Bay Primary. My father and my mother, eventually they separated and divorced, and my mother took all five of us, all five children, and she was on her own. My father was into politics all over the place. With Michael Manley, democratic socialism, preaching the gospel. You know what I mean? He forgot about dentistry, and he dedicated his life to politics. My mother, she became a dressmaker. You know what I mean? Because she didn't have any other means of survival, and she wanted to stay home with her children while they were young. And she had one little old VW, And my memories of us, all 5 of us with my mother in this one little old VW driving up and down all over the place. She couldn't afford to go grocery once a week, so I had to go to the shop every day or every other day to buy the meals. You know what I mean? I was a shop man, you know what I mean, because the eldest. And that is how we grew up, basically. And my mother eventually, she decided when we were old enough she was going to get a job, and she went and got a job at a bank, Workers Bank, and she got a job as a teller. And she worked her way up until she became the operations manager. When she became operations manager, because she was so good at what she did, she got transferred all over the place, all across the island. So we ended up going to like 3 prep schools and 3 high schools. I went to Glenmuir High, Cornwall College, and Manchester High. And my mother eventually decided that she was going back to do her degree when she was about 36 years old. And she took Donna and I to Canada, where you know, I was in school and I worked. No, I worked full-time because my mother didn't have any money. So I worked full-time, myself and Donna worked full-time. My mother was in school, and we started school part-time in junior college. And that is how we went along for a while until we got into university. In fact, I came back to Jamaica and I worked with the People's National Party as a sound man. I was a sound man, I played the sound, you understand? And for the 1980 election, unlike my sister, I'm not into politics. I'm not into politics in a way that divides. Maybe because I'm running a company and I like to pull people together and work together for a common good. So therefore it's kind of difficult for me to transition into a thing where it's, you know, 2 parties working against each other. I'm going to be working with any administration that is working in the best interest of Jamaica. And I will work with any administration that asks me for help or support. And wherever I see that I can add value to Jamaica and the Jamaican people and advance in Jamaica's growth prospects, I am right there working for Jamaica. I had to try to build up my own production capacity, you know, and I just didn't have the capital. And I tried my best, and then Hurricane Gilbert came and wiped out my shipment.
The Nissan X-Trail with All-Mode I Technologies. No matter what the road throws at you, your story starts here.
As the end of the year draws nigh and the celebrations begin, let us add some magic to the festivities with our BATV Christmas mix. Why settle for blah when you can have fa-la-la-la-la? 60 advertising spots, 10 cross spots. This $1.6 million package is all yours for only $45,000. Don't wait. Contact our sales team today and take advantage of this incredible offer. Our gift to you, BATV Christmas Mix. Offer valid until December 31, 2018.
We are back with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well we lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
This is Weekend Business Report. Economic windfall.
Unsecured loans.
Alleged corruption.
Follows the closure. If they made this investment.
Brokers
strive to increase revenues.
These sought some answers.
Financial meltdown.
Here are the week's final Here's Garth. News Roundup.
Camille, it's back to you.
That's Weekend Business Report with me, Camille Gale, Saturdays and Sundays.
We're taking you beyond our shores, across the region and around the world. Every week, BATV gives you in-depth reporting on the major stories that gripped headlines in the Caribbean and on the international scene. Join us Sundays for This Week Abroad. Business Access TV, serious about business at home and abroad.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
So I went to the University of Western Ontario in Canada. While I was there, you know, as always a little entrepreneur, my mother called me a hustler. So, you know, while I was there, you know, selling records, I used to have my own radio program. And I'd asked my sister, Trisha, to send me records, and I would sell them to the record stores in London, Ontario. I was importing smoked marlin from Jamaica and selling to seafood restaurants in London. And while I was there in my second year at university, I did this business course and I had to do a project. And my project, I formed a company, Jamaica Seafood Exports Limited. So after I finished my first degree, I came back home and I said, listen, I'm getting into seafood exports. So I started my company, Jamaica Seafood Exports, and I started exporting freshwater tilapia. I started exporting lobster, shrimp, seafood. But you know, I really had a good source in that there were the Israelis were here at the time with the tilapia farming, and then we had the Cubans who were here, Miami-based Cubans who were here exporting lobster, conch, etc., etc. So I had a good source, and you know, I was doing quite well for some time until they wrapped up the Israelis pulled out of Jamaica, and the Miami-based Cubans, they pulled out of the seafood business, and therefore I had to try to build up my own production capacity, you know, and I just didn't have the capital. And I tried my best, and then Hurricane Gilbert came and wiped out my shipment because I had all my produce in cold storage, and the Hurricane Gilbert come and mash up everything. So, you know, my mother, Joan Duncan, 100% behind her children. I mean, she gave me the capital for my seafood export business. So when that failed, her capital failed also, but she stuck with me. She worked with me. And trust me, I give my mother plenty of trouble, you know. You understand what I'm saying? I give my mother a whole heap of trouble. But she always stuck by me, worked with me, and encouraged me, you know, ensure that, you know, she gave me direction, and we always were able to talk through and be able to kind of find some direction. And, you know, eventually I ended up at Franklin D Resort as a group sales coordinator, coordinating the sales effort for Franklin D Resort, Enchanted Gardens, Sans Souci, and Singles Negril. And, you know, going overseas and meeting with travel networks and travel agents and, you know, trying to bring tourists to these resorts. I enjoyed that for a while, and then for about 2-3 years, and my mother started JMB. So when she started JMB, you know, so I'm enjoying my tourism thing, I'm traveling and, you know, enjoying it because, you know, being a sales agent means that you're entertaining all the time. So I said, well, this is cool. You understand? And then she said, Keith, I want you to come and work for JMB. And I said, Mommy, well, really and truly, why you want me at JMB? You know, I did my first degree in economics, but why you want me at JMB? Look at all those experienced bankers and all those people out there. You know, and she said, Keith, you're a hustler. You come. I said, I need your kind of skill set. I need your skill set and your kind of drive to move this thing. And I became a trader. You know, a trader has this hustler, entrepreneurial kind of capability, or skill set, or competence. And, you know, of course, I want close trades. And of course I want to build business, you know what I mean? So I really got into it. And I had Tina Beckford, who was the other trading manager. She trained me up. This was in like 1993, July 1993. JMB was started November 92. And I came on July 93. And we're downtown Ocean Boulevard. One little office, you know, Donna's office, my sister's office, my mother's office, Joan Duncan's office, my mother, my office, and that was it. You know, and then we had, you know, two secretaries outside, and that was it. And we had an attendant, Rose, and my mother's driver, Brenton, and that was JMB to begin with, you know. And, you know, we hustle and we put business on the books. The most important thing, you know, is to know that nothing can stop you, right? So everybody can tell you why is it that you should not be able to grow from being a one office entity to being a regional powerhouse. There's nothing that could tell me that we were not going to be great, because there's nothing that was going to tell me that we were not going to be the largest broker in Jamaica. I wasn't even thinking that, but I know that we're going to grow. And grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Because I can't sit there and we don't grow. I can't sit there and just think, okay, this is where we are. Because we have to grow. We have to build. We have to move forward. You know what I mean? So therefore, there's nothing in my mindset that tell me that, okay, I'm satisfied with where we are. Nothing can say, okay, this is where we are comfortable. Because we have to keep moving forward. When we moved into the Dominican Republic, none of us spoke Spanish. You know what I mean? When we say, okay, Dominican Republic looks like a good market. 10 million people, Spanish speaking and underdeveloped market. This is right for us. And we say, but wait, nobody don't speak Spanish. So I found somebody in information technology, Curtis. And I said, Curtis, you know, he did his MBA in Spain. So Curtis, you're the man, you know. You know what I mean? And then we found somebody, we recruited country manager, or just the head of the securities firm, Guillermo Arancibio. Good man. But he's also somebody that's very, very much driven. You know what I mean? And therefore we decided that we're going into the dom rep. No other company would say they would just pick up stumps and say we're going into dom reps and just open up. But we went in, we don't have no office, we don't have nothing at all. The same thing with Trinidad. We just go in and say, well, how we're going to figure this thing out. And we figure it out, and we move forward. And the same thing with Jamaica. We just figure it out step by step, and we're strategic, we understand where we want to go, and we work towards it. But nothing said to us that we couldn't do it. There's not in my mindset, or my mother's mindset, or my sister's mindset that say we can't be whatever we want to be. So we face challenges along the way, being recognized by the market. But why does JMB have 220,000 clients? That is why JMB is so powerful, you know. The client base, you know, is a client base that gives JMB power. It's a client base that by people have to take us seriously in life. It's a client base why we have to be at the table at any national, in any national dialogue, we have to be at the table. And it's our clients that make us powerful. And we represent our clients. You understand? We are there in the best interest of our clients. And we had to create a value proposition for our clients. We have to be in the world of our clients. We're not just doing business for business sake. We're doing business to meet the needs of our clients in a real way. From the heart. In other words, it comes from the heart. And the culture that we have built and developed comes from the heart. It's a natural thing. So it don't come from anywhere that you need to be like this if you're going to be in business. It comes from the heart, straight from the heart. And when it comes from the heart, it's natural. And when it's natural and you deal with people in that kind of way, like the way my mother dealt in a non-traditional way, which is real, people gravitate to that because they know that you're real. What motivates me is going that extra mile, taking it to the next level.
There's only one recommendation for funding that is ever going to come from me, and that is funding from a bank.
This is the cost to build, and it includes every nail and screw for the building.
Our motto is building communities, building a nation.
Get in the know with the world of real estate with Business Access TV's Home Sweet Home, Sundays at 4:30 p.m.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
It's the only show that traces the steps of professionals.
From first and second form, I was involved in some club, some activity.
Then gives information on exactly how to get into that same career.
You do need a good grasp of English.
And know you can branch out into whatever area you want to.
Tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for Career Moves and catch up on all our episodes at batvja.com.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
What motivates me is going that extra mile, moving it to the next level. I know what it takes to move it to the next level, but you have to get people mobilized, engaged. You have to have a plan. You have to be able to give people some direction. You have to be able to kind of put, kind of lay that plan out so people can get it and be engaged and buy in and to move forward with it. JMB is a real story. I mean, 23 years old. And for 23 years old to be like a regional powerhouse, it is a hell of a story. That means that we're unstoppable. And I believe we all know it. And we every day that us as team members come to work, we want to move that story forward. It's a matter of, always being able to work it through, articulate it, and move it forward. My wife and my children are very important to me. I have 4 beautiful children and my beautiful wife. And I really enjoy growing my children. I really enjoy every moment with my children. Them get trouble sometimes, but I know that I used to give my mother trouble too. But I enjoy working through every phase of their lives with them, and understanding where their head is, being able to explain and being able to guide and being able to, for them to see it for themselves. I love it, man. So I make time. I make time for my family. I definitely, they're my #1 priority. You understand what I'm saying? JMB is up there, but my family and my children, and moving them forward and giving them a particular mindset. It's that is very, very rewarding for me, extremely. Outside of spending time with my family, I exercise. I run, and I have an exercise program that is important to me. So I try and find that balance between family, between, exercise does settle me down, it gives me some good feel-good hormones, it really makes me feel good. And so I exercise. I like to run. I just go run for miles. It puts me in a particular mindset, and that's where I get a lot of inspiration while I run and when I exercise. And I would say, because I'm always traveling, I enjoy seeing different cultures. I enjoy seeing different cultures. I enjoy Trinidad. I enjoy the Dominican Republic. You know what I mean? I really do enjoy, really immersing myself in the culture of these people and of various nationalities that I have to work closely with. So I enjoy it. I really enjoy that, and I really enjoy working with people. I really love working with people. Those who know me know what I stand for. I think most people know my heart. They know where I'm coming from. And I'm not afraid to say that is just love. It's all about the love in your heart, because if you walk around with bad feelings in your heart every day and a negativity, all you do is drawing energy from your powerful self, So if you can work to remain in a positive space all the time, positive vibrations, if you can remain positive all the time and don't allow negative vibes to pull you down and to pull you back, that is what people should know about me, that I'm a positive person and I'm moving forward. My legacy is my children, My legacy, I have 3 boys and a beautiful daughter. And that's my legacy, Because when they engage and they represent, they must engage with a level of positivity and love. You understand? So my legacy is my children. Jamie B is my legacy also. We have worked hard, and it's my mother's legacy, and we have built on it. And I guess that work will go down in history as work that we have done, and that what we have created as a Jamaican company. Because for a Jamaican company to start up and to really accomplish what we have done, I think is I would say we have done something that is out of the ordinary. And so that would be a legacy, but really and truly I want my children to represent my legacy. Wealth is only a means, Wealth is only a means, because wealth don't really make you happy, It's all in the mind, It's all in the mind. Bob Marley said that. It's all in the mind. Bob Marley said if a man want to drink tea, a man can drink tea, So you can sit down there and suffer if you want, But if you want to drink tea, you can drink tea. That means if you really want to achieve, you can achieve. You understand? People sometimes don't listen to the words of Bob Marley, because maybe him talking too much patois and all them kind of thing, But people really need to listen for the inspirational words of that young man who died at age 36, Robert Nesta Marley. Powerful words. So if a man want to drink tea, a man can drink tea. You understand what I'm saying? So therefore, wealth is only a means, but it's all in the mind. What makes me happy is peace and love, and being in an environment that is positive. Like, I don't think I could work anywhere but Jamie B, because with the kind of culture that we have created, where everybody is in a positive place. You understand? That is the kind of energy I can work with. I cannot work with negative energy. Negative energy drains me. You understand? Even though I've learned to allow it to be able for it to just bounce off. You understand? But consistently, if I am to work closely with people, I have to work with people who are in a positive place.
It takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
Nestled in the city of Montego Bay in St. James is the Open Heart Charitable Mission, which takes care of the homeless and the mentally ill.
Basically, Open Heart Charitable Mission started as a vision for myself in giving back. We came to Montego Bay because we saw the need of the homeless population and situation and the street people program. And after seeing the incident in 1990 when the street persons were trucked to St. Elizabeth and dumped, it weighed heavy on me. And so I had a vision of doing a soup kitchen in Montego Bay. And it has blossomed into more than a soup kitchen now because we have joined with the St. James Parish Council and signed a memorandum of understanding. So we kind of work together. They supply certain things and we run the program pretty much under the eyes of the Poor Relief Department and the St. James Parish Council. So we all work together, basically trying to improve the lives of the homeless and street people of St. James, Montego Bay, and also the wider Jamaica. It's very interesting with homeless people. They're well organized, as people may not think. We have had people who have come all the way from Kingston because they have heard of our organization and our program to get into our program. So they're well organized. They communicate with one another, so they hear the type of service that we have here at Open Heart. And they come, get their meals, they get the services that we offer here, the rehabilitation program. And so they just come. We get referrals from the Poor Relief Department, referrals from the hospital, the Cornwall Regional. And so we try to service. We don't turn anybody away. If you're hungry, even if you're not homeless, we'll try and accommodate something for you, so you'll have something to eat. But we generally do not turn away anyone if they come for food and service. We have a rehabilitation program. Our program is 6 months long once you have been accepted. And it constitutes, we have a farm up in Seaford Town where we do an agricultural program. We have a farmhouse where the clients live, work there, and we try and give them a little stipend. And that program is really to get them off of the streets in a confined area under structure kind of living, because when they're on the street there's no structure. So we're trying to bring that in their lives. My message basically is that we're one blood. God created us all. Right? And take an interest in the street people and homeless. Take an interest. They're Jamaicans, right? And they need help. They really do need help. The charities around Jamaica really do need help. And a lot of them are doing wonderful work, And, You know, there was a saying in Jamaica, it takes cash to care, but it doesn't really take cash to care. It takes compassion, you know, and understand how fortunate you are to be, you know, how blessed you are. And but for the grace of God, you're not like them, you know, and just thank God for that. And remember, it could happen to your brother, your sister, your mom, or your dad. And would you want anyone to abuse them like that if they're caught in a situation like that of being on the street? No. And so let's try and be our brother's keeper.
Karon Cameron is the office manager, and she ensures that the clients are given proper care.
Our main goal is to get as much people off the street as possible. So, and you know, the clients look out for each other. So we get a lot of new persons every day. We see new people every day. So when we say, oh, did you hear about us? They'll say, oh, you know, I saw a street person. They said, this is where you have to be. So they look out for each other. If we don't see somebody 2-3 days in a row, we'll say, what happened to Roy? What happened to Bob? And they'll say, oh, you know, somebody hit him and he had to go to the hospital. So if you need to know anything about the clients, you ask a client. I think here really shows you what life is about and actually gets you to become humble. So you don't hold on to material things, because we have seen that it don't last. So throughout the years, I have grown to love the people. I see them on the street. Before, honestly, I was afraid of mad people. That's what but no, you can't say mad people. They're mentally ill. So I think that actually helped me to grow as a person. So I see them on the street, they come and hug me up, and they'll be dirty, and I don't care. They come around, and I make sure that they come around and get the shower. So I feel really safe on the street now, and I see them, and I see where they're coming from, and I see where they're going. Because if you don't have a goal for them, and then, you know, tell them, you know, this is what I see you're doing, sometimes they just need somebody to just believe in them. So usually what we do, we choose, when we see new clients, we'll say, all right, this is my project. And then we ask them, what are you interested in? And if they're interested in painting, we ask donation and tell them to come down here and paint. We go out and find jobs for them. In the bakeries, on construction sites, we talk to people and we get jobs for them. Even if it's not like permanent, we try and make sure that they're doing something. My message to people that overlook homeless on the street: open your eyes. This can be your brother, your sister, your mother, just laying on the road. So you have to open your eyes. I'm not saying you have to give them money, but even to buy a patty and a box drink, they will appreciate it. So you just have to open your eyes and see them, not just pass them and just, you know, cross the street. Just open your eyes.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
We appreciate when people come in and interact with them. I think interaction is the main thing, because, as I said, people don't open their eyes and see them on the street.
A corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, products launch, workshop or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357 or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
Are back with another exciting, innovative and inspiring season.
It takes a lot of stick-to-itiveness, being consistent and persistent in whatever you're doing. That's the bottom line.
Business exists to add value to people's lives. And if we're not doing that, might as well lock down the store and just call it a day.
It's a season 3 of Creating Wealth, Mondays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Have you seen it? It's BATV Live. Live streams of business news weekdays at 7:30 p.m. Stay on point Thursdays at 8 p.m. with our Business Current Affairs show and Weekend Business Report Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. wherever you are. Log on to our Facebook page at Business Access TV or visit our website at batvja.com. Live and at your fingertips. Business Access TV. Serious about business.
The Open Heart charitable mission encourages volunteers to assist in any way possible.
We appreciate when people come in and interact with them. I think interaction is the main thing because, as I said, people don't open their eyes and see them on the street. So when they come here, they expect us to, or they're looking forward to us to talk to them, find out how their night was. Something as simple as finding out how their day is going or how their night was makes a big difference to them. So we love when volunteers come here and interact with the clients.
Delroy Denton is a former client at the Open Heart Charitable Mission who now volunteers and mentors the homeless, along with Georgette McNeil, another one of several volunteers.
I heard about them through gathering information because before you put your head in anything, you need to get as much information as possible. So when I do hear about Open Heart Charitable Mission in Montego Bay, from a friend, I decided say I should come here and investigate for myself and see what it is like. And what I did saw, I was impressed. So I decided to be a part of that, be a part of caring for people, do something charitable. Because it's not about money or getting paid. It's about helping people. Do what you can for people, the most vulnerable, those who are less unfortunate than us and stuff like that. So, yeah, I was really touched by the mission's goals and objectives.
I do everything. Yeah, I'm a round-the-clock girl. Yes, and I get involved through NODM. It's another part of our organization in Kingston. So feel some time here. Just come here and volunteer. Really, it's good because I don't make anything bothers me. Because we're all human beings, and if you're in something, you have to love it. Honestly, you have to love it. So if you see something or somebody you can help and assist, give them a bath, make sure they're clean and prepare their meals and help them, have fun with them, react with them. See what they're made of. What can you do to change their day? Because some of them don't have a really good day at times, but by talking to them, they ask you a question, you can answer them, in a different form, and you don't be arrogant at them. Just be nice to them.
Sometimes when you say you can make another person smile, even when you look at their situation and their circumstances, and you see that you can make them smile, you can make them feel special, you can make them feel wanted. And you have to show them respect and love, because if it doesn't have love, you can't give it to anybody. So when you can make them smile, or you listen to them, listen to the issues that they have, the social issues, and and you can make a difference by just advising them and encouraging them. It's just a good feelings, not just for myself, but just see that smile on their face, that somebody can reach out to them, somebody who have been there, will know what it is like. You understand me? So I enjoy doing that, because with the Open Heart Charitable Mission, we have a mentoring system going on, and I am their mentor now. You understand me? So I'm doing a mentorship program with them. You sit with them, you talk, you even eat with them. So you make them know, say, boy, it's not them alone I eat the food. You sit down and you eat the same food that they eat. Make them know them worth something, and try to lift their self-esteem. Make them know, say, they are not worthless. All is not gone. There's still hopes. There's light at the end of the tunnel. Because some of them understand that they can listen, because if you reason with them, you come to realize how intelligent they are. Because they have good intellectual ability. But you can know that, I discover that, if you speak to them. Because if you keep shunning them away, you won't learn their fears and concern. So somebody got to do it. Somebody has to do it. You know, because at the end of the day, that's what God wants. Because He gives us this sense of direction. He gives us this knowledge where we can go out. You understand me? And interact with you know, the most vulnerable in our society. Yes, so all people shun them. Sometimes we get angry with them too, to be honest, and say they don't get so much trouble, but we still listen to them. We still feed them. You know, they come and they want a piece of bread, they come late when food finish, they come late with everything. And even though, you know, but we still have to, you know, reach out to them, we still have to feed them. Because we have to look after them. That's what Open Heart Charity Mission is about. You know, look after those that, you know, vulnerable in society. When everybody turn their back at them, we can't do that. We have to listen to them and help them as much as we can under the circumstances.
As a society, you get more church come together, more business people come together. It's not about you, it's about us. Putting ourselves in their shoe and think, what may happen to me further down the line? You know, you have to place yourself in so many different ways, you know? So at times I think churches, groups, you just have to just put that boundary there to see what really can be done for them.
Coming up on Caring Hands.
When some of these cases comes to my attention, it really plays a great impact on me, knowing that it could be one of mine.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Career Moves has always explored interesting careers, highlighting all you may not have known about them. This season is no different.
Coming back to Jamaica, everyone's like, Fizzy what? Fizzy who?
When you find a bright boy or girl in the class and they say, what are you going to be? The parents say, you have to go be a doctor, you have to go be a lawyer. Nobody says you have to go be a politician.
Let me see your hands!
Tune in Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On Point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
The Open Heart Charitable Mission Refuge of Hope Night Shelter is located in Albion, where up to 50 men and 30 women are accommodated. Tamika Whitaker, the shelter manager at Refuge of Hope, oversees the day-to-day running of the shelter. She also monitors the clients at the shelter.
With persons with various personalities and so it can be a challenge. But, you know, with training and stuff to know how to handle conflicts, etc., we care for the mentally ill, persons who are pure homeless. We have deportees from time to time, yes. And being in this organization, Institution the Refuge of Hope, we do offer a rehabilitation program, yes. So with this rehabilitation program, it does entails we do the chicken rearing. We try to get them to do life skills for reintegration and assimilation into our society. Our rehabilitation program, we do have the chicken rearing, we have sewing, we have a literacy program, and also we do art and crafts. From time to time, we do get referrals from the hospital, we get referrals from the airport. We also care for stranded international visitors. For example, an international visitor would be in Jamaica stranded, don't have enough money, etc. The immigration or the police would refer them here. They stay over until their flights schedule or whatever their situation be resolved and sorted, and then they would go out. What we also do here on a monthly basis, we do an analysis, monthly analysis, to see where a client is at. So I set up a library and encourage a client to read a book. It's important to reading, yes? So what happened, even if the ones that are not literate, you know, and don't have that reading capacity, I encourage them to even look at a magazine. A picture can speak volumes.
The role of farm manager and social worker Cecil Cox is to ensure that everything on the farm is intact and that they produce agricultural produce which helps to bring in income to help feed the clients both in the streets and in the shelter.
With the farm, we produce so far pigs. That's make meat for them. We presently have over 90 pigs in all now. We also have goats that we rear, and all of that goes towards feeding. Now we produce bananas, plantain, and we have a few patches of sugar cane that we also use the corn, sorrel. I have a little area, a little garden around the back of this shelter. Also that we produce callaloo, and I mean vegetable in general, vegetable. We rear chickens, broilers, and layers. Now also that goes to feed the clients. One thing too, we also do this as a form of rehabilitation, because these clients, they are not persons that work as a person and what have you. So when we do this, they work in it, for them to understand that, you know, they need to do something. And this will also help them to create job for themselves when they reach a point where they can leave the mission. When some of these cases comes to my attention, it really plays a great impact on me, knowing that it could be one of mine. And because of that, I really give sympathy to them, and somebody need to care for them. Somebody need to care for them. So because of that, sometimes their story might not add up, but there are some form of compassion you need to extend to them. So, you know, it brings a great impact on me with that, knowing that they are human also. If everybody look at, if it was me, if everybody look